Up, everybody? Welcome back. I am going to be flying solo today. So, strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Christian can't make it this week. He's got a family thing that came up last minute, so it's just going to be me. I know. Dry your eyes. I know it's a disappointment, but we'll get through it. I promise we'll make it. So, for most of my political career, most of the time that I've been influenced in politics, there have been, items, there have been political topics that, whether the left will say one thing, the right will say something else, and I'll basically be in the center, right? I like, for example, good example of this is like the wall. People wanted to build the wall, right? The right was saying, yeah, yes, let's build the wall. The left was saying, no, it's a waste of money. And I'm sitting there thinking like, what's the problem? Like, why can't we, manage this? This is not that hard, right? The left was big on like immigration reform. Meanwhile, the right just wanted to defend against the overwhelming flood of immigration that was coming in. And I'm like, we can do both, right? We can defend against the ridiculous influx of immigration by building the wall, and we can do immigration reform at the same time. Like, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? And there's a lot of things like that in today's world. Moreover, there are plenty of issues that if it's basically only a problem when one side does it, right? Like one side will do something and the other side will like fight it as hard as they can. And then when the next side gets in office, then they try to do the exact same thing or pass the exact same bill. And it's like, if you had a problem with it, why didn't you just go ahead and pass it the first time, right? So in any case, I'm going to be talking about a couple of different items that are basically took place over this last week that are all essentially in this category, right? In this category where I'm like looking at both sides, thinking like, why can't we make this work? Why is this such a hard thing to manage, right? All right, so the first one is this 8647 post that came from former FBI Director James Comey. And I realize there's only two people in chat. Guys, if you're out there, say hello. I don't know if maybe I should wait for somebody else to get into office, but everybody's kind of stalling. There we go. Got a couple in now. All right. So anyway, the first one is, hey, Andy, how's it going? Hey, Hammer, welcome aboard. So yeah, so the first one is this James Comey Instagram post where he's talking about, he says he's walking down the beach and he sees this alignment of shells that says 8647, which of course, hey Galaxy, how you doing? And so of course, right, he takes a picture like the numbskull he is and posts it online. Hey Cornick. And then later he claims that he didn't realize that 86 could be misunderstood as a call to violence, right? So I really don't understand how he could not know that. I mean, 86 is a widely known, euphemism for, trash it, get rid of it, do whatever. Welcome aboard, everybody. I see you guys man, everybody showed up all at once. Welcome. So right now we're talking about Comey, James Comey and his 8647 comments, right? And so, meanwhile, everybody on the right immediately says like, oh, investigate him. This is a threat of assassination, right? This is him calling for the end of Trump's life, which I have to say I believe is an overreaction. I really do. The flip side to that is all the Democrats are saying, oh, no, there's nothing to see here, right? This is no big deal, right? Like there's nothing going on, which I also disagree with, right? So, Bob, to answer your question, I did vote for Trump. I was not a Trump fan per se, but it was obvious to me that he was better than both Biden and Kamala Harris by a significant margin, to answer your question. I'm actually much more impressed with Trump's second term than I am with his first. So, in any case, so Comey goes by and snaps this. Who knows if he actually put the seashells together himself, or if it was somebody else that did it and he just walked by and saw it. Either case, it was a stupid thing to do, right? Like, at least this is where I feel like both the left and the right can come together a little bit, and the left should be able to, at minimum, say that James Comey did something dumb, right? That he went and saw this seashell orientation in the sand that could be misconstrued as a call to violence, and putting that on Instagram was a huge mistake. That should be at least like the bare minimum, right? Yeah, I do agree that Trump definitely gets results. That's for sure. You know, here's something I was going to talk today about is Trump seems to be getting a lot of results through executive action. And so he's doing a lot of these executive orders, which I think most of them are probably pretty good for the country. But then my problem is that the Congress isn't going back behind him and codifying everything. And that's kind of bugging me, right? Like, I feel like Congress is really laying down on the job. Like, how much, what, they passed like 5 bills since the beginning of session? That's frustrating, right? Like, what are they doing? Like, they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the courts, and they have the presidency. This is the time to get their legislation passed. I don't understand what the problem is. But that's one of my frustrations. So, with regard to this 8647 comment, now it's like, it's gone all across the internet, and everybody's doing it. Now, one thing that I will say about this situation is that to threaten the life of the president is different than any other person on earth, right? Most people don't realize this, but it's actually illegal to threaten the life of the president even as a joke, right? You just can't even say the words. Even if you're kidding, you will still get hauled in and put behind bars, and the Secret Service will pay you a visit. So that's why I would think that James Comey, of all people, the former head of the FBI, should know this, right? Like, he should know to be extra careful when it comes to the presidency, right? Like, and targeting the presidency. Not to mention, right, like, Trump's already been targeted for assassination probably 3 or 4 times that we know of, and maybe more that we don't. And, you know, that's probably like a daily occurrence for him that he has to deal with. So you would think that people wouldn't be feeding into the flames of this nonsense. Now, again, though, I feel like when the Republicans like leap out and say, "Oh, this is assassination threat," again, I think that's too much, right? Especially because he did take it down later. He said, "Look, I didn't realize that 86 could be a call to violence," which I think is dumb. I think he did know that, but even if he didn't, I mean, let's say even if he did, like per se, I feel like if he takes it down and acknowledges his fault, then it wasn't an intentional miscommunication. You know, he wasn't really calling for that action. And anybody, now the problem is the damage might be done. So if there's somebody who's unhinged and they go and see that message and think that that's a call to action, then, you know, they're not going to see the retraction. They're just going to see the first message and then go ahead and do that. Let's see. Alawakiri, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but it says, do you think Trump will be the one of a kind or the first of a trend? Oh, gosh, he's definitely one of a kind and definitely the first of a trend. Trump has done something incredible with American politics, and what that is he's shifted the polls, right? So it used to be, for as long as I can remember, it used to be Republicans were right-leaning or conservative, Democrats were left-leaning or liberal, and that was just how it was, like for as long as I can remember. Now Trump has shifted things so that now it's like Republicans are populist and Democrats are anti-populist, which is really, really, really weird, especially because in the abstract, like if I didn't know, if you just like took all the names away and all the party names away and stuff like that, if I just didn't know anything and I blindfolded myself and you read me the platform of the Democrats and the platform of the Republicans, I would think that the Democrats are the more populist side. So it's kind of funny that Trump turned everything into like this weird like nightmare land where everything is like backwards or something like that. Bob says, someone unhinged like the 2 guys. Yeah, gosh, the guys that shot at Trump are like, you know, you have to be extra special to try to hurt anybody. And I condemn violence in basically almost all of its forms. I do believe in a just war, but aside from that, yeah, it's insane. So, you know, Aodeji asks, isn't populism more right-wing inherently? Well, it certainly is now. I don't think it is inherently. I think, well, sort of. It's complicated, right? So, like, the part of populism that wants to be free of control from elites, of course, is more right-wing because it's more freedom-based. The part of populism that wants to be, that wants to kind of like how do I say this? To level the playing field is more of a liberal philosophy, right? Because one way to eliminate or to provide an anti-elite force is to like take the money away or the resources or the power away from elites, give it to the poor. That's more of like a communistic, socialistic kind of atmosphere, which is more liberal. So it's complicated, right? Like either side could stake their claim. Oh my God, it's the bull. I do not believe that Jeffrey Epstein, even if alive, would have made a good president. In any case, moving on. My point, though, with this 86-47 thing is that I feel like both sides are being unreasonable, right? And it shouldn't be that difficult to come together. Of course, I get that there's a big game to be played here with some people saying like, they want to get their name in the newspaper. They want to get it on media. And so, of course, the most vibrant, hard-hitting, knee-jerk reaction that you can provide, that's going to be the biggest news, right? So if you're like, oh, it's an assassination attempt, then, of course, that's going to leap you up in the ratings. And if you say vice versa, that this is a nothing burger and the Republicans are all making this up, then, again, you'll get into the news faster, especially on, like, the MSNBC side. But one thing that I did want to mention about this is that it's not the first time this 86 thing has been used, even in a political context. I think Matt Gaetz said it a couple of times. A couple other people have said it a couple of times. It's really not that big of a deal overall. That's just my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I don't think people should be going around saying that. I think it's morally reprehensible, but I don't think it's legally reprehensible. One of the case, I think it's Brandenburg. Yeah, is it called Brandenburg? Brandenburg is the case in that controls the issue of whether or not a threat is actually actionable as far as legal ramifications are concerned. So, like, basically, in order for a threat to be legit, you have to have it be imminent, like immediate. You have to have it be direct, and it has to be unambiguous, right? You can't say, like, the thing that the left talks about all the time with, like, dog whistles, that doesn't really count as a threat, right? Dog whistles don't really exist for the purposes of legality. They might exist in the social world in some kind of weird context, but they don't exist as far as the legality. No, I don't think that we should free Diddy. I think that guy is a terrible person overall. Even his rap was subpar. But anyway. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the South African refugees that recently were approved to come into the country. Where's my chin? That's why I grow this beard out, right? It's to kind of strengthen my chin. I'm also doing these jaw exercises, like. In any case, so the South African refugees are kind of another weird situation where I feel like both sides are being kind of unreasonable, right? So for the longest time, the left has been saying that, look, empathy, 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 do what's right, let everyone into the nation because we should be kind, peaceful, loving, happy, tree-hugging people, and everybody that can come in should come in, right? And that sounds great insofar as it goes, right? It's easy to say that when you're, like, several steps removed from paying for it or any other kind of hardship that might be involved with getting somebody into the country, right? So it's like, if you're going to work that empathy angle, you need to be consistent, right? You need to be empathetic for all peoples that are facing these hardships and need to come into the country, if that's your angle, right? Logically, that's got to be your consistency. Now, on the right, they also have an inconsistency, and that is everybody on the right's been saying that no, we need to stop the blood, basically. We need to stop the leak of immigrants coming into the nation. There's far too many. We need to slow it down, like put a stopgap in there so that we have time to fix the system, time to catch up, and then we can start the system again. Now, the trouble is, if you're going to be on that side of the fence and hold the principle, then again, you need to be consistent. You need to be basically say that everyone should stop, right? You can't just be like pick and choose a couple of people to let in unless there's a different principle that's guiding you. Now, what's happening with these South African refugees is there are 59 and I repeat this, I'm going to say this again. There are 59 refugees. Not like 5,900 or 59,000. There are 59 refugees from South Africa that Trump approved via executive order as having been persecuted and allowing them to come over here and basically request asylum. Asylum was granted, and then now they can be in America. Now, and the left is losing their mind about it, which is driving me crazy, right? Because out of all these people that the left was allowing over here, right, after letting millions and millions and millions of people come over with Biden, and after letting hundreds of thousands of people get request asylum over the last several years, some having nothing to do with asylum, right? Basically, the left's process was they'd get the CBP-1 app, and then just say, oh yeah, of course I'm asking for sanctuary here, and then they would let them in, and there'd be no vetting, no process behind it. It was just sure, come on down, right? Anybody. We don't care who you are. Are you a drug dealer, prostitute, whatever? Come on in, right? And then we finally found the one group that the left doesn't want to let into the country. White people. Right? What in the world is going on? And this whole time, they're empathy, empathy, empathy. Oh, wait, it's white people? Oh, no more empathy, right? And now, I'm not one of those guys that typically has this conspiracy theory going on. I mean, I do some conspiracy theory, dabbling, but I usually don't go in the deep end, right? One of the deep end conspiracy theories has been around for the last several years has been the Great Replacement theory, right? The thought that the left wants to just bring in a lot of people of color so that they can get more left-wing votes, because on average people of color vote left, right? Vote Democrat. And then that'll, feed into their political power. And that's the whole point of the Great Replacement. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here saying, no, that's a little bit far-fetched, right? I'm sure they don't, I'm sure that's not the only reason or not the primary reason. Maybe some people out there want it, but I'm sure that's not the whole goal. And then here we are, and we have 59 people who are obviously persecuted in their home nation, right? I don't know if you guys know what's going on in South Africa, but it is bad. White people are literally, by law, able to have their land confiscated, and they're able to be kicked off their land and made homeless by law. That's insane. There are people in stadiums full in South Africa shouting. It's called what is it called? It's called Dibule Buna. No, I'm not saying it wrong. Dibul Ibunu. It means shoot the boer, kill the farmer, shoot the boer. And a boer is it means white person, basically. The Boers were the original people to have settled in South Africa, and they very quickly took over much of the influence. And look, I'm not gonna. South Africa has a very colorful history, right? And I'm not a South African historical guy. So I wish Christian were here. He could tell you a little bit more about it, but it was not good in South Africa for a long time. The situation was flipped, and in the past, the white people had all the control, and all the people of color had a very bad situation in South Africa. There was apartheid for a long time, which was kind of sort of similar to our Jim Crow segregation system in America, only worse, right? It's kind of hard to equate all the systems because there's a lot of differences, but in any case, there are literally stadiums full of people still singing this song, right? And this is a song, it was originally a struggle song, like a fight song to fight against apartheid, right? So as Ayodeji says, it was a revolutionary song. And don't get me wrong, I don't like the lyrics at all, regardless of when it was developed, or even if I were to start a revolution now, I wouldn't say kill the elites or something like that. I would never say that. I would never say kill the X, right? And I definitely wouldn't target a specific identity or specific group. Now, I might say, fight or something like that. But in any case, the question is, why are they still singing it? Because whether it was banned or not, they're still singing that, and people are still being thrown off their land, and farmers are getting killed, literally killed and thrown off their land in South Africa. So I can't see a more blatant. I'm not saying that this is all black and white. It isn't. If you'll forgive the pun, but I just can't see a more blatant issue of a situation where somebody is actually persecuted and then comes over and requests asylum. This should be a no-brainer, right? Like if we're gonna take this, and it's, if we're gonna accept any asylum seekers, then this is a situation where you would do it. If you're gonna accept any at all. Now, if you're gonna accept none, that's fine, and that should be you know what. Hey, Deji, I am listening to you. Of course, there's a lot of people talking at the same time. And I want to tell you that I've done a lot of research on this, and there's a lot of people saying a lot of things on all sides, but I'm willing to listen to any particular point that you feel is false, because this song is still being sung. As a matter of fact, you can go on YouTube right now and see a picture, see a video of people having sung this in a stadium just last week. So I don't know what you want me to say. Now, maybe they're not supposed to. Maybe it was banned. But it is 100% the case that this is still going on. There are murders that are going left and right. I believe you that it's banned. But here's the thing. Whether it's banned or not doesn't stop people from singing it, right? You can ban something all day long, but people are going to sing what they want to sing. And farmers are still dying there, and people are getting kicked off their land. It is true that by law, you can kick a farmer off his land in South Africa if he's white. Hello, Amerlock. Welcome aboard. Welcome, Gucci Goo. Welcome. Yeah, right? You like the lava lamp? It's pretty cool. So anyway, getting back to the situation. I feel like both sides need to be consistent. So if you are of the opinion that we should stop all immigration, then we should stop all immigration. If you're of the opinion that we should let everybody in, then we should let everybody in. But I don't like this whole we should let everybody in but white people. That's driving me nuts, right? That's ridiculous, right? And I also don't like somebody saying we should stop it all, we should slow it down, we should stop it all. Oh, but let's let in these white people. Again, it's inconsistent. I like consistency. Internal consistency is what I like, right? All right. On a more broad note, going along with that, there is an Episcopal Church, Episcopal Church NGO that basically ended its relationship with the government just because Trump's executive order said, hey, look, we're going to let these 59 people in. We'd like you to help settle them. And they're like, no. That's against our ideological premise. I'm like, how could you, what? This is an NGO that their entire purpose in life is to resettle people who are seeking asylum and granted it in America. And they're like, the moment 59 white people want to get asylum, they're like, no. It's insane. It's insane. We're going off the rails. So in any case, that's issue number 2. All right. Issue number 3, where I feel like everybody's losing their mind. Trump is being given a 747 from Qatar, right? And it's really not that big of a deal, right? He's being given, and let's be clear about this. Trump isn't getting the plane. The United States government is getting the plane. It is going to theoretically, if they work this out, they haven't done it yet, but if they work this out, it'll become Air Force One, right? It'll become temporarily used by the Department of Defense. And then upon the end of Trump's, I believe, if this goes through, of course, like I said, they're still hashing out the details. If this deal goes through the way I think it's shaping out, at the end of Trump's term, it will get donated to the Trump Presidential Library, right? Which, I want to be clear again, Trump Presidential Library is not his personal property, right? So if it goes to Trump Presidential Library, that is not like Trump getting the plane. He's not magically gaining this $500 million piece of merchandise for his private wealth, okay? So I just want to be clear about that. That's not a personal gift. It would only be a personal gift if it actually became part of Trump's private income, private wealth, right? But Trump can't touch his presidential library. It just sits in an exhibit. Now, the only other thing that might happen, right, the only thing that might make this bad is if for some reason it moves from the presidential library into Trump's private wealth. Then it would be a personal gift. And even so, that's not what's on the table right now. Now, I think we should watch for it. I think we should pay attention to it, right? But here's the thing. Air Force One is not just for one person. It's for a lot of people. A lot of people will use Air Force One. The president, the vice president, anybody who the president flies with, basically. The Joint Chiefs, anybody else who's in there. I mean, they're gonna have all of their security talks. Now, on that note, obviously, you want to be careful about accepting a gift, a plane, from somebody else, especially Qatar. I mean, Qatar's kind of sort of a trade partner and supposed to be friendly with America. But even so, even if they are, that's a huge security risk. Like, obviously, this is a huge security risk, right? So to even accept this as Air Force One, they'd have to take it, tear it apart, like almost down to the atom, and then make sure there's no listening devices, make sure there's no explosives, make sure there's no, weird control system that like all of a sudden they can get remote access to, and then put it back together. So like, I almost wonder if it's worth it, to like take this. I mean, don't get me wrong, because it's still a gift. It's still an expensive gift for the Department of Defense. I think as long as it's for the public use, as long as it's for Air Force One or for a library or for, Department of Defense, I think it's above the board. Now, do I think Trump is skating the edges of legality? Probably. But here's the thing. Here's what I want to tell everybody. Trump, when Trump does this stuff that's like on the edge, right? It's not like Trump looks like, it's not like he says, you know what, I want to do this thing and to hell with the law. What he does is he says, all right, I want to do this thing. And then he looks at someone like, Pam Bondi or somebody in one of his lawyer teams. And he says, can I do this? Is there a loophole where I can make this work? Is there a legal avenue to accomplish this? And then, they either say yes or no, right? And so that's the thing. Like, people think that Trump just kind of like up and randomly decides to do these illegal things and then doesn't check it with anybody. No, of course not. He's probably the most careful person on earth, right? Because he knows he's right on the verge of getting impeached every 5 seconds. So it's not that big of a surprise to think that, of course, he's going to check with Pam Bondi to see if he can accept this gift. And guess what? He ran it by the Attorney General of the United States of America, and she said, yes, it's fine. It's above board. So there's a lot of comments. I can't, just FYI, guys, there's a lot of comments. I can't keep track of everybody. So if you want to move your comments to the top, I would be eternally grateful if you like bought me a cup of coffee with it, a little super chat or something. Help a brother out. We're a small time channel trying to get in, trying to have a come up. But anyway, I think it would be silly not to accept this gift. Here's something that most people don't know about the Middle East. My father actually toured the Middle East, went to many different countries over there, Yemen and some other places to play. He was a jazz pianist. And one thing that most people don't know is if you don't accept a gift, that's an insult in the Middle East, right? So if you turn a gift down, you're actually insulting them. So like it is actually a matter of international diplomacy to accept a gift. Like you actually need to accept that gift, or you will actually be offending Qatar officially, right? So it's important to understand that if you're talking about like we should turn this down, that's shaky, right? Like you're actually getting in a danger mode, right? You're actually pushing somebody away. Now, Trump doesn't have a problem pushing people away if it's the right thing to do, but there's no reason to do it here. It's like a win-win, right? Like we get something for free, they're happy. Why would anybody, turn that down? It doesn't make any sense. People are saying it's a constitutional violation. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think Constitution rules around, what is it called? Emily, I don't know how to pronounce it. But anyway, the clause that they're discussing is talking about personal gifts. It's only talking about something that moves from a state to a private wealth, right? To a private asset hold. And this is not what's going on. This is going from another nation to the federal government, to the United States of America. It's our plane, right? And look, for those of you out there that think that I'm worshiping Trump, I am not. Most of you guys who watch this channel enough would know that I'm not even really a Trump fan, right? I've been happier with his second term than with his first term, but I've never been really impressed with Trump. I never have been. But that doesn't mean that I have to start thinking all of a sudden that he's breaking the law every 5 seconds, because that's the knee-jerk reaction, right? The knee-jerk reaction that I see on the left is that simply because they don't like him, they think, oh, he's breaking the law. Oh, constitutional violation. Oh, blah, 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 blah. You go overboard with this. Is again where I feel like both parties can come together, because it should be a no-brainer, right? It's just a daggone plane. It's just a daggone plane. Who cares? Let him use it for Air Force One as long as he goes through the security upgrades. And who cares, right? It's like people are out there, like they're trying to look for reasons to hate Trump, but like if you want to hate him, just hate him. But that doesn't mean that everything that he does is wrong. Even if you hate him, things that he does could be good. And even if you love him, things that he does could be bad. You should be able to like see reason on both sides. That's just my personal opinion. But anyway, what questions do you guys have for me? What do you guys think? Let's see. I'm trying to catch up with some of these. So Bob Barker says it's the same as Hunter Biden selling his finger paintings for millions and millions. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of precedent for this. Reagan got a plane. I think Reagan got a 707 in his presidential library, right? I heard that Clinton got a helicopter, but I didn't follow up on that, so I don't know if that's accurate or not. But I mean, there's plenty of situations. I mean, Reagan got an M1 Abrams tank in his library. It's not that big of a deal, but yeah, right. So like, Trump is definitely, what is this? Martin says Trump is not perfect nor an angel, but he is good for America and the world. Yes. So I do agree that given the options that we had. Like, it's a no-brainer, right? Like, Biden was practically dead. He was practically a corpse, held together with a car battery. And Kamala Harris was, I have no clue who Kamala Harris was, right? To this day, I still don't have any idea who was pulling Kamala Harris's strings, because it wasn't Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris had, like, literally 6 things that she was allowed to say in front of a camera. It was like, well, I was raised as a middle-class kid. And that was it. Like, you could go through the 6 things that she was allowed to say, and it was like, okay, obviously she memorized 6 things that somebody else handed her on a plate, right? So if you're that kind of a puppet, that's terrifying to me. I don't want that and run my country. I'd much rather have someone who at times makes mistakes than someone who I have no clue who the president is, right? So that's my 2 cents. Let's see what else. What other comments did I miss down here? Yeah, John Park says no American actually turns down anything for free. Right? Like, the fact that we're going to turn down a free $500 million plane is kind of just silly anyway, right? It's just a little bit silly. Now, one thing I'll say too is, let's see, if it goes to the Defense Department, I think it's fine. I think that when people think that Trump is using these these brazen fringe legal theories, that he's just like saying like to hell with it because no one can impeach me because I have the Senate. I really don't see that. I feel like every time he does this, he's walking a line, right? Like, he's on the edge and he's asking Pam Bondi, is this possible? Martin Johnson says Trump is handling the Middle East completely different than the establishment playbook. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure. You know what? The fact that, he's treating the Middle East like they could be commerce partners, like that everybody could be together, is like 100% different than the past. Now, to be fair, the Middle East has transformed a lot over the years, so it is a kind of like an evolving scenario. So it's like, we do have to be nimble, and Trump has done that. Lee G says, wasn't the Statue of Liberty a gift from France? Yeah, absolutely. Statue of Liberty was a gift from France to the United States of America. I think nations give each other gifts all the time. The only thing that they're worried about, right? The thing that they're worried about is like a private bribe. That's what the founding fathers were worried about. They were worried that someone was going to say, hey, Trump, I'll give your private business like, a couple $1 billion over here where nobody's looking so that you can scratch our back over here. But here's the thing. We were already positively predisposed toward Qatar. So they don't gain anything by trying to bribe Trump. Like, there's nothing they gain out of it like that. One thing I wanted to go back to for a second too about the first thing we were talking about, which the James Comey 8647. This is what I want both sides to take away from this, right? I just want both sides to remember this scenario in the future, because what happens a lot of times is we'll get into another situation that's similar but a little bit different, and then what will happen is everybody on the left will say, "Oh, it's all Republicans that are violent," right? Like they'll call up January 6th over and over and over again. January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. It's like the answer to every question on the left. January 6th, right? And meanwhile, I just want the Democrats to remember that the left seems to be calling for violence also, right? That the left goes into Congress and disrupts meetings also. That the left goes and, with the Black Lives Matter riots and disrupts government proceedings and burns government buildings also, right? I just want everybody to realize that everybody has the same issue. These are human problems, not like left-right problems, right? And the same thing on the right, right? The right's going to say things like, the left is the first person to accuse Trump for everything. The moment Trump does anything, the left jumps on him and accuses him of something. And here it is. James Comey says something and the right's pouncing on him, right? Accusing him with something that they probably know was not a genuine call to action, right? And yet, that's their thing, right? They're jumping on it right away. And so I just want both sides to remember that there's room to operate a little bit, right? We can come together as a people. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, James Comey's got a lot of problems that are aside from this situation that are above and beyond. I mean, he's probably guilty of some other issues, lying to Congress and some other things. Of course, you can't prove it all, but can I please speak sign language? Unfortunately, I cannot. I do not know sign language. I do gesture a lot though, because I'm Italian. Talk with my hands, bobbity boobity. Let's see. Bob Barker says dozens and dozens of people were convicted of insurrection related to January 6th. Yeah. That's the thing about January 6th. I mean, obviously it was bad, right? Like a bunch of idiots charging the Capitol. But that having been said, did they deserve to be treated like, insurrectionists? That's pushing it, right? These are just rioters and, a couple years max, if that, only for the violent ones, really. But yeah, let's see. Not good, Bob says 8647, Trump should be removed from office. See, like, not good, Bob. See, I would be very, very careful about that. I don't think that you mean that in a violent way, but like I was saying earlier, the presidency is special in that you could be joking. And if you say like to unalive the president in any way, even if you're joking, you can get thrown in jail. So that's why I said James Comey should have known that. There's a law that makes presidents different from anybody else, right? So anyway, guys, that's all I really have for you today. I've been running through some medical issues, so I'm going to call it out a little bit early. It's a shame because this was a busy one. We had a lot of people watching, but I'll be back full force on Wednesday. Please subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please watch some of our longer videos too. That will really help me out. Really help us get this thing off the ground. I wish I could stay longer, but I'm in a lot of pain, and I got to call it here. But please subscribe. Please help a brother out, and catch us on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Yep. Thanks so much, Chang. Appreciate you, Martin. Thanks so much. See you guys, everybody. Have a great day, and keep it coming.